Well, good afternoon. I'm Andy McKenna, chairman of Schwarz Supply Source and McDonald's Corporation, both sponsors of today's luncheon. And incidentally, this is a great turnout and a great luncheon and a great tribute. How a round of applause for Mary Sue Barrett and her great staff. Well, as one of the co-chairs of MPC's 2011 Annual Luncheon Committee, I have the pleasure today of introducing today's main event, a conversation with Thomas A. Mars of Walmart U.S., moderated by MPC Vice Chair Jesse Ruiz. As you all know, MPC is well known for its proactive work on housing, transportation, water, and community technical assistance. So where does Walmart fit in? The big box retail phenomenon defines suburban and exurban growth for the last 30 to 40 years. Today, these same retailers are focusing on urban areas. Like many of you know, MPC wants to know more about this trend and how it will affect economic development in Chicago and across the metro region. Now, the purpose of today's presentation is to get a first-hand perspective on the urban retail evolution from someone who's played a key role in crafting his company's national urban strategy. Before we get started, let me share a few facts about Walmart's presence in Illinois. It currently operates a total of 108 supercenters, 42 discount stores, 28 Sam's Clubs, and 5 distribution centers. 59 of those stores are located in the Chicago metro region. Walmart has just one store in the city of Chicago. It's located in Austin on the west side and was recently upgraded to include full-service groceries. But the company has also recently announced plans for 8 Chicago stores in Chatham, Pullman Park, Englewood, Lakeview, River North, and Presidential Towers downtown. And according to Crane Chicago Business, Walmart is one of the area's largest private employers. As of June this month of 2011, Walmart employs a total of 50,166 associates statewide, a remarkable number. One of the key topics of today's discussion is Walmart's small format store, a concept the company's experimented with for quite some time. Neighborhood markets have been around for more than 10 years, now in some parts of the U.S., including Phoenix, Kansas City, Las Vegas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas. And I'm betting one of Jesse's first questions from Tom will be, we're glad you're here. What took you so long to get here? It's my pleasure to know Tom Mars, and I know you will enjoy his comments today. Tom is smart, hardworking, an incredibly kind and thoughtful man, and I noticed met a great number of you during the reception and luncheon period. And he's deeply committed to the success of Walmart's urban strategy, especially in Chicago. And Tom is a definite straight shooter. So NPC promises to give him some tough questions, and I'm sure he's more than ready and willing to answer them. So Jesse Ruiz and Tom Mars, the floor is yours.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ray. Thank you.
Well, Tom, I'll echo that thanks, and glad you're able to be here with us today. And Andy either was looking through my briefcase at lunch, or he's very prescient, because that is my first question. That Walmart's traditionally been known for operating its large discount stores, about 108,000 square feet, and then the supercenters, about 185,000 square feet. But as Andy mentioned, you also have Walmart markets, which are about 42,000, and now you're going to pilot a great number of Walmart Express stores, which are about 15,000 square feet, just for folks' reference points. So, Tom, why now and why Chicago?
Well, both good questions, and let me first say I am thrilled to be here. I've been looking forward to this for a long, long time. We've never done this before, but I think it's great to have the opportunity on behalf of our company to have a venue like this to answer some questions that are on your mind, and can't thank the board and the staff enough for the opportunity. I wanted to start by saying that. Why now? Because it's been a journey. Been with the company almost 10 years. First 7.5 I spent as the general counsel, as you know, Jesse, and the last 2.5 or so as chief administrative officer for the Walmart U.S. business. And I've been an eyewitness to this journey that brought us to this decision to move now, and to move now in Chicago. And I want to stay with the timing question and answer your question about why Chicago. It's a matter of the confluence of a lot of things. In October 2005, our then CEO, Lee Scott, made a sweeping, bold pronouncement that we were going to lead in sustainability. I was in the front row when he made that speech and never imagined what would happen in the years to come. That's part of the timing equation. Another part of the timing equation is, as you know, and you've explained to everybody adequately, supercenters was what Walmart became known for, and it was because that supercenter format, the big box, was the engine for the growth that the company, the amazing growth the company experienced over the last couple of decades. But you know, life changes, and one of Sam Walton's famous quotes was always stay out in front of change, and that's a part of our culture that our leadership team really believes in. So we were always trying to look around corners during the past 10 years since I've been with the company. And as you look around corners over the last 10 years, I don't need to explain to people in this room all the changes that we've seen that affect our core customer. And in the meantime, we launched this neighborhood market format, which is the smaller format that Andy referred to in his introduction. And it was just this quarter. I was here 2 weeks ago at the William Blair Investor Relations Conference with Bill Simon, our CEO, and for the first time ever we announced that our returns on the neighborhood market format are now on par with supercenters, which, having a responsibility to our shareholders, makes it much more attractive to grow that format at a faster rate, and we announced our intention to do that, considerable growth plan in that format. Well, in the meantime, our international operations have had lots of experience with small formats, more than I'd have time to describe here. And so over the last 5 years, as we were starting to lead in sustainability, as we saw the need to serve underserved customers in urban markets, we reached out to our international colleagues in particular markets where they'd had a lot of success, and we actually put together a team, a huge team of people who have been studying how to bring a smaller format to the United States successfully, specifically in urban markets, but also in small towns on both ends of the density spectrum, you might say. And so we opened 2 express stores in places with quaint names, Prairie Grove, Arkansas, how do you like that? And Gentry, Arkansas, and then one in North Carolina, and we have the Chatham Express scheduled for a grand opening on July 27th, and I look forward to being here for that. And as I think everyone knows, we have additional plans, but it's all those things that go into the timing question. Now, I'm glad you asked me why Chicago. We're familiar with this second city thing. We didn't get the memo. We don't buy that and never have. And during those years where we were learning from people in this room, and you know what I'm talking about because we've been having this conversation about stores in Chicago for a long time, we learned a lot of things. And they were valuable, but in the process of learning these valuable business lessons, we also learned a lot about Chicago. And the people who make these decisions, the Walmart U.S. leadership team, I'm not sure what your preconceived notions might be, but it is a very diverse team, and I mean diverse from every angle, ethnically, from gender perspective, religious perspective. I was born in White Plains, New York, so I guess I should buy into that second city thing, but I don't. But it is a very diverse team of people, and one of the things we've all learned over the years is the importance of listening, and we've done a lot of listening up here in the last several years, And there is no venue that presents a better opportunity for us than Chicago. And I should add that we have an established presence. This is not our first foray into urban markets. We have 15 to 25 stores in both Houston and Dallas, in those Metroplex areas, more than 100. Phoenix, the same. Detroit, Dearborn, and so on. This is not the first urban market we've entered or attempted to enter, but it is a critically important one to us, and we're absolutely committed to doing it right. And if it hadn't been for people in this room, if it hadn't been for the extraordinary leadership in the mayor's office, on the city council, in numerous civic and charitable organizations and community groups that have helped us, I wouldn't be sitting here today and we wouldn't be opening this express store. So I want to say to everybody in this room, give yourself all the credit, because it's that environment where success breeds success, where leaders not only embrace but cherish diversity of thought, and diversity from every other perspective, and you've made it very welcoming for our company to choose Chicago, and we're very happy that we did.
Great. So what? As a lifelong Chicagoan, I'm happy to join in that applause.
Yep.
So what have you learned in coming here? Are there any lessons that will then translate into other urban markets?
Oh, for sure. You know, the enduring lessons from our Chicago dialogue and our Chicago experience thus far are really twofold, in my opinion. One is, just reinforces that we are in a unique position to lower the cost of living for all Americans, and in particular, really change the lives of the Americans who are challenged the most in today's economy. And I don't need to tell people in this room that situation is not unique to Chicago, but Chicago is not exempt from that either. And our tagline from your perspective, or marketing line from your perspective, is you've heard us say, save money, live better. That's our mission statement too. It's not just a tagline, and I can tell you that there is not any discussion that happens in the executive suite at Walmart that doesn't stay true to that purpose. In fact, everything we've done in sustainability, which has been great for our business, has helped further that mission of saving people money so they can live better, because one of the things we learned quickly is the best sustainability ideas and the ones you want to move the fastest are the ones that are both good for the environment and good for the business. But listening is the other enduring lesson. And I learned that from Lee Scott early in my career, as you know, Jesse. And just the conversations I've had in this room. I picked up a few business cards, picked up some good feedback. I'll take them back. And, you know, we don't claim to be perfect, and I don't think anybody in this room does, but I promise you that we understand the importance of listening, and we understand the importance of behaving like not just a good corporate citizen, but a great corporate citizen, because we feel an extra responsibility to be not just a good corporate citizen, but great. And we need the feedback and the help from people in this room and people who couldn't make it today to continue to do that. I hope we'll make you proud.
You mentioned Lee Scott's initiative on making the company more green, and it's well known in the operation and in, frankly, the building of supercenters that Walmart has employed a lot of green technology, and that's been wonderful in new construction in Chicago specifically, where you'll have smaller format stores, some going into existing buildings. What practices can you use to still have some of those gains on the green front?
Well, that's a great question. Let me just answer it this way. What practices can't we use? One of the great things that we've seen about being a global company in the last 5 years since Lee announced this sustainability initiative, or maybe it's 6 now, time flies, is how transferable sustainability is from one country to the next. I think people are probably aware that we just acquired a significant interest in Africa, and just finished out that transaction, and the practices that we're applying in China apply equally and transfer just as nicely to Africa as they do to Chicago. Our latest store in China is expected to use 40.1% less energy than stores built under previous formats. Pretty significant. Our transportation logistics people have, listen to this, shipped 300 million more cases in 2010, 300 million more cases in 2010, driving 200 million fewer miles than they did in 2007. Now,
You can tell us how? How do they do that?
yeah, that would never have happened but for Lee's emphasis on sustainability. We would never have been thinking like that. But we went through this paradigm shift in late 2005 and 2006, because I remember Lee saying, those of you who think this is optional, it's not. And nobody opted out. Nobody even thought about opting out. And it didn't take long for us to go, oh my gosh, look at this. You know, Lee's putting it in a green package, and we're achieving savings here that are just incredible. And how do you achieve such a dramatic, almost unbelievable accomplishment in efficiency? You just get out of people's way. You show them what can be done with green technology. Start thinking outside the box, and it's a lot of things. It's packaging. It's how you pack a truck. It's where you drive the truck. We partnered with Daimler Chrysler and developed the first hybrid tractor trailer. It's amazing. There's no limit to what you can do. So come back to your question. What can't we do with this small format? We got LED lighting. We got this thin film solar roofs. We got white roofs. We've got a store in Aurora, Colorado, and another one in Plano, Texas, that we built as the, call them sustainability deluxe super centers. Everything that could be put into them back then. One of them, I think it's one of those stores that's heated with the grease from the chicken that we sell. Seriously, I'm not kidding. So I was up at Rocky Mountain Institute. Many of you probably know Amory Lovins, and I know Amory pretty well, and I was at his house up in Snowmass in March. He's got his own residence built like one of those super centers with everything you can imagine, and it's fascinating. And anyway, he and I were talking about this same issue, and I invited him to come back and take another look at our super centers, our markets, and this express format, because it's been a few years since we built those experimental stores in Aurora and Plano, and to see what newer technology we might incorporate into them. And if there's anybody who knows, believe me, Amory does. I mean, this guy is about as cutting edge as it gets, and his reputation precedes him. So I'm personally really excited about what we can do with this new format, and particularly in Chicago. It's going to be interesting to see.
Speaking of the new format, where the stores in Chicago are going to go, as you alluded to earlier, underserved and low-income areas at times are crying out for new stores. And how does that factor into where you're putting stores? And generally, what's the approach to locating stores in a community, but in particular in Chicago?
Well, that's a question I guess I'd want to answer by sort of backing up and giving you the broad answer, and then we'll come back and talk about Chicago specifically. So we have a real estate committee. I'm a member of it, have been for almost a year now, that meets every month. And I suspect we may be maybe the only big company, but one of few, where the chairman of the board, the CEO, and the senior people meet every month. And we actually meet all day and go through all the prospective sites and the analysis that goes into the quality of prospective sites, whether it be in Viney Grove, Arkansas, or whether it be in Chicago. It's pretty extensive. And LB Brown, I know LB's in here. He's our Chicago guy who I have a lot of confidence in, and I know many of you know him. He presents these for Chicago. Some of them are in underserved areas. I mean, that's clearly a factor that goes into business decision, but it's not stopped us from building stores elsewhere, and it won't stop us from building them, obviously, in Chicago. I was just talking to the regional vice president, the senior vice president, who's got the responsibility for Michigan. And I just came back from Dallas. I was there Saturday. And, we have stores in Dallas in underserved areas. And I was talking to this fellow about this one particular store in Dearborn. We had 10,000 people apply for the jobs there. I think there's 494, roughly 500 associates. The store is doing $105 million worth of business a year. It's got a customized program for WIC and SNAP. It is a busy store, and I guarantee you we are reducing the cost of living for the customers in that store. And it is as underserved, or at least was as underserved can be, and it's a success. And there are other success stories I go on and on, but it is a factor. But we want to go where the customers need us the most. So we're naturally actually drawn to those places. And I should mention, I don't know if anybody is here from the mayor's office, but I know there is somebody here. I attended a meeting in the mayor's office, I think it was 2 weeks ago, with Bill Simon, our CEO, Maggie Sands from our corporate affairs office, who's done a lot of great work up here, went with me, and both of us were commenting, and I was talking to Bill on the way home about just how impressive the mayor was, and in the short time he assembled some, I think this is public, I hope it is.
It is now.
It is now. I know it must be, because I remember there being a reporter there. But the mayor assembled some of our best competitors, and the CEOs of these organizations were just sitting around a table, and in no short order, the mayor sketched out his ambitious expectation that all of us will work together as partners to provide a level of service in food deserts and around food deserts that's unprecedented in Chicago. And I just want to say, I mean, there's another real-time, recent example of why we made the good choice to come to Chicago. It was just a natural conversation. It was clear that everybody was on the same page with the same objectives. There was an action plan. We like action plans. As Walmart, we like to come out of meetings with action plans. The mayor was decisive, and there'll be more meetings, I'm sure, I'll be participating in. And I just want to commend the mayor and the mayor's office for putting that classic corporate government partnership together in short order, and I predict it'll be very successful.
So as a regional organization that MPC is, how does what's happening here in Chicago and nationally with Walmart's urban strategy impact the existing stores in the suburbs and outside of the urban areas where there's a new focus?
Well, it varies. That's the only way I can honestly answer that question. I mean, it varies depending on so many things. Clearly people are moving from the suburbs back into the cities, and it's one of the reasons that this need exists in the first place, one reason. But these issues that you sort of allude to, I think I saw something in program terminology, a term I hadn't seen before, intrajurisdictional something. Being a lawyer, I sort of figured out what that meant. And I know that those are complicated issues, and I would just say that when communities and community leaders and city and township leaders come together, county leaders, to make good decisions about how to strike a good balance on those issues, we'll be there at the table. We'll participate fully, and we understand the need for there to be balance.
Got it. Yeah, and I think you're alluding to tax sharing agreements
Yeah,
that some
sure,
communities
yeah.
engage in. Great. Tom, for those of us who are law firm lawyers in the room, we know that you are legendary in leading the drive to diversify the legal profession and encouraging the law firms that served Walmart to hire, retain, promote more women and lawyers of color. And given your role at Walmart, where you now have some responsibility or a lot of responsibility for your supplier base, what lessons learned in diversifying the legal profession can you now adopt in dealing with a broader base of suppliers?
Well, there's a lot to be said there, but I first have to say, legendary, I don't think so. Nice.
Those of us who are beneficiaries, you were legendary.
Well, anyway. So one of the things that I've personally learned, and I've spoken about it all over the country, most important personal epiphany I've had in my adult life was, you know, Jesse, because we've talked about this, is the realization that when you look at diversity in the way I look at it now, and we look at it now as a way to upgrade talent, which is almost like having the Coke formula, if you ask me, you start to see the whole world in a different way. And it was not only personally an important experience for me as I was introduced to diversity by other people and got to know you and others, and a lot of that happened here in Chicago, but it became a significant game-changing strategic advantage for our legal department. As you know, I think, you know, during the time I was a general counsel, about 7 years, I mean, I inherited a legal department with no diversity, a fairly small one, grew it to be one of the larger legal departments in America, and for at least the last 3 years, last 5 years, I guess, at least a third of the lawyers in Bentonville, just the lawyers in Bentonville, were people of color, and more than 40% women, and the whole leadership team was just as diverse as that. And we saw an opportunity, and Lee encouraged me to look for these opportunities to use our commercial influence to make the world a better place. That's the words he used. And I saw that opportunity in the law firms in major urban areas. And as you know, we thought it was not right that 82 of our 100 relationship partners in the top 100 firms were white males, and so we did something about it. And at the end of the day, the white males became the minority, and $60 million of business was transferred to minority and female partners in those law firms. And we didn't do it to get a thank you, but I mean, we didn't do it to get recognition. We didn't expect any, and we sure didn't expect the domino effect it would have, the unintended consequences. But as you know, it sort of snowballed, and it was great. And so one of the after effects of that, if you fast forward in my career and I'm in this new job, is minority supplier relationships as a function was sort of fractured inside the company. And using Chicago as an example, that structure wasn't very helpful. And I don't know how much time we have left here, but I could go into that a little bit.
One more question.
5 minutes. Well, I mean, I will just say that I had the opportunity to talk to Melody Hobson and Robert Blackwell and others, and I personally looked into, you know, what did our minority supplier book of business look like in Chicago before we opened our first store, and what did it look like afterwards? And after seeing all that data, I could understand why they had the perspective that they shared with me. And I looked into it further, and as I suspected, it was a function of the way we were structured at the time. Long story short, I have continued to stay in touch with those folks. We have another meeting on the schedule, I think, pretty soon. But great news. We learned from that series of lessons over the years. So minority supplier relations now reports to me. It's all centralized. Teresa Barrera, as vice president, reports to me and is responsible for it, and we've got the right people in the right place. More importantly, we have the right plan. And as I shared with somebody in a conversation earlier today, we're on the brink of rolling out what will be a very ambitious, just as ambitious as what we did in the legal department, minority supplier program addressing professional services across the board, and a corresponding program for our major food and general merchandise suppliers. The professional services minority supply program that we're going to roll out will be significant, and it will be national in scope. But we've decided to roll it out and launch it in Chicago. And I'm excited about that, and I know there are people in this room who will benefit from that. And what better place to launch a program like that than Chicago? We, again, have benefited in lots of ways from our Chicago experience, and that's just another one.
Well, we'll close it up with this last overarching question, and that is, what is Walmart's commitment to Chicago beyond just selling goods and services here? In other words, what do you believe is a company like Walmart's role with regard to Chicago's budget deficit, education reform, public safety, job skills training, and the promotion of a vibrant business climate in Chicago in just a couple of minutes?
Gosh, Jesse.
I gave you the overarching closing question.
All those things. No, seriously, I mean, we can't address and solve all those things, and everybody here knows that, and there's not anybody in this room individually who can. But I do think that we can be a part of the solution for all of those things and be at the table if people think that our being at the table is helpful. I'm not saying it's always helpful, but you know, we have some areas of the business where we have expertise that might be of interest and might be valuable in some of these areas. I recently became just fairly recently, I've only been to one foundation board meeting, but I became a member of the Walmart Foundation Board, and having just gone through that orientation and one board meeting, I can tell you I'm pretty excited about the opportunities to think about ways that our foundation can do more work with Chicago. It's done a lot already, but we've made this $2 billion hunger commitment. We have the same interests that you do. I mean, if you're going to lower the cost of living for everybody so they can live better lives, then you have to be interested in gang violence. You have to be interested in education. We have just rolled out in the last year a program that a few of us worked on for about a year before that gives all Walmart associates college credit, accredited college credit for their Walmart training, and will allow lots of associates to pursue and obtain degrees, associate degrees, bachelor's degrees, and master's degrees at a cost that is significantly less than what they would have had to pay had they not had that opportunity. And that was just an idea that came out of a conversation at a meeting someplace, and so there'll be other things that'll come out of our conversations with everyone here in this room and others. I don't know what they'll be, but we sure have an expectation that you'll call on us when you think it's appropriate and we can be helpful.
Great. Well, Tom, thank you so much, and welcome to Chicago. And I know you're going to be
Thank you.